You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. This is a case that has haunted many people for years, a tragedy that continues to stir up feelings of frustration, sadness, and mystery. It's the chilling story of Natalee Holloway, a young woman whose disappearance in 2005 captivated the world and left behind questions that remain unanswered to this day. This case has everything: disappearances, strange confessions, unsolved mysteries, and a grieving family who's never stopped fighting for the truth. Over the next few chapters, we'll dive into the timeline of her disappearance, the investigation, the theories, and the twists that have kept this story in the public eye for almost 2 decades. Let us dive in and explore the haunting mystery that still remains unsolved. What happened to Natalee Holloway? Chapter 1, Natalee's early life. Before we talk about the fateful events that would change Natalee Holloway's life and the lives of those who loved her, it's important to understand who she was. Natalee Ann Holloway was born on October 21st, 1986, in Birmingham, Alabama, to parents Beth and David Holloway. Natalee grew up in a loving household, excelling in school, and developing a reputation for being an intelligent, compassionate, and determined young woman. She was known for her easy smile, her determination to succeed, and her commitment to her friends and family. She was an accomplished student with plans to attend the University of Alabama. Natalee was close to her family, especially her mother, Beth, who described her as a person with a bright future. Like many high school seniors, Natalee looked forward to the milestone of graduation. It was a time of celebration, of new beginnings, and exciting opportunities. But for Natalee, it would mark the beginning of a tragedy that would haunt her family, friends, and the world. She wasn't just another teenager going on a graduation trip. She was a young woman with dreams, aspirations, and a future that was tragically cut short. Chapter 2, The Trip to Aruba. In May 2005, Natalee traveled with a group of 124 students from her high school, Mountain Brook High School, to Aruba to celebrate their graduation. The trip to the island, located off the coast of Venezuela in the Caribbean, seemed like the perfect way to close this chapter of their young lives. Aruba was known for its stunning beaches, clear blue waters, and vibrant nightlife, making it an ideal vacation spot for young tourists. Natalee and her friends stayed at the Holiday Inn, an area bustling with tourists, young people, and plenty of opportunities for adventure. It was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime, filled with sun, sand, and fun. On the night of May 29th, 2005, Natalee and her friends decided to visit Carla's and Charlie's, a lively bar and nightclub popular with tourists. They were there to enjoy the night, listen to music, and have a good time. Little did anyone know, this night would mark the beginning of a tragedy. It was the last time Natalee was seen alive. Chapter 3, The last night on May 30th, 2005, Natalee's friends noticed she hadn't returned to the hotel room she was sharing with them. Her absence was immediately alarming. The night before, she had left Carla's and Charlie's with Joran Sloot, a 17-year-old Dutch national. She was last seen getting into a car with him, leaving the club just before it closed. Joran Sloot, along with 2 brothers, Deepak and Satish Kalpo, were among the last people to see Natalee. Sloot later claimed that he had dropped Natalee off safely at her hotel, but no one could verify this. Natalee never made it back to her room, and no one knew what happened to her after she got into that car. The next morning, alarm bells went off. Natalee was missing. Her friends immediately alerted hotel management, and within hours, Natalee's family was notified. Beth Holloway, Natalee's mother, rushed to Aruba. The authorities began an immediate search for the missing teenager, and soon the island was flooded with media attention as news outlets from all over the world began reporting on Natalee's disappearance. What followed was a desperate and intense search for Natalee, but there was no trace of her. The island that had been a paradise just hours before now became a place of anguish for her family, friends, and everyone involved in the investigation. Chapter 4. The Search for Natalee. The initial search efforts in Aruba were extensive. Local police, with the help of the FBI and volunteers, scoured the island from top to bottom. They searched beaches, homes, and nearby areas, hoping to find a clue, any clue, that could lead them to Natalee. It became clear early on that something far more sinister than a simple disappearance was at play. Beth Holloway, Natalee's mother, became the face of the investigation. Desperate for answers, she gave interviews and appeals, urging anyone with information to come forward. Every lead was followed, no matter how small, but nothing concrete came from the investigations. During this time, the three men who were with Natalee on the night she disappeared, Joran van der Sloot, Deepak Kalpo, and Satish Kalpo, came under intense scrutiny. All three men were questioned multiple times by the authorities, but their stories didn't seem to match up. Joran van der Sloot, in particular, seemed evasive and inconsistent in his statements. At one point, he claimed that Natalee had simply disappeared, while in other versions of his story, he suggested she had been left in a car near her hotel. Despite the suspicions, there was no physical evidence that could definitively prove what had happened to Natalee. Days turned into weeks, and yet there was still no sign of her. The police had no leads, and the case was quickly becoming one of the most high-profile missing persons cases in the world. Meanwhile, the media frenzy surrounding the case continued to grow. Chapter 5. Joran van der Sloot, the prime suspect. As the investigation progressed, one name consistently came up: Joran van der Sloot. His odd behavior, combined with his changing statements, quickly made him the prime suspect in Natalee's disappearance. At first, Joran claimed that he had dropped Natalee off at her hotel on the night of her disappearance. But as police dug deeper into his story, they found inconsistencies and contradictions that didn't make sense. It was revealed that Joran had a history of troubling behavior. He had been involved in a string of incidents that raised red flags, including a history of lies, manipulations, and issues with authority. Yet despite the growing evidence of his involvement, there was still no concrete proof that Joran was responsible for Natalee's disappearance. In the absence of physical evidence, the case was at a standstill. Joran's increasingly strange and erratic behavior only deepened the suspicion surrounding him. His lack of remorse and his inconsistency in his accounts were troubling signs. But despite repeated questioning and media pressure, Joran denied any involvement in Natalee's disappearance. He was eventually released from custody multiple times, despite being the prime suspect. The case seemed to hit a dead end. Chapter 6. The Confession That Wasn't and the Tragic Twist. In 2006, Joran van der Sloot made a shocking admission to two American women who had arranged to meet with him. He claimed that he knew where Natalee's body was buried and would reveal the location, but only if he was paid a substantial amount of money. The women followed his instructions, but when they arrived at the supposed burial site, there was nothing. It was another cruel hoax, a game played by Joran to deceive desperate people. Despite this shocking attempt at a confession, the investigation into Natalee's disappearance remained unresolved. The tragic twist came in 2010, when Joran van der Sloot was arrested in Peru for the murder of Stephanie Flores. Van der Sloot had been seen leaving a hotel room with Flores, and shortly after, she was found dead. Joran eventually confessed to the crime, and it became clear that his violent behavior toward women was far from an isolated incident. Yet, despite his admission to killing Flores, he was never charged in Natalee Holloway's case, leaving her family and the world to wonder if Joran was responsible for both crimes. Conclusion: the case of Natalee Holloway remains one of the most chilling and perplexing unsolved mysteries of our time. Nearly 2 decades have passed since that fateful night in 2005, and despite numerous investigations, confessions, and suspicions, her fate is still unknown. Joran van der Sloot's role in the case remains a question that may never be fully answered. Natalee's family, especially her mother, Beth Holloway, continue to search for the truth, keeping her daughter's memory alive in the hope of one day finding closure. That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.